When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the new Prologue EV, there's a lot that could impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
And now, from inside Hall D of the Minneapolis Convention Center, this is a special live broadcast of the Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show. Here's Scott Korzonowski.
Yes, we are live at the Convention Center. Right when you come in, we got a big, long putting green right in front of us. The Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show will be here all weekend. I'll be here on Sunday morning as well, and I'm here until 6 o'clock today. Maybe in this first half hour, I could just putt with the contestants for the whole half hour.
Well, you know what's going on right now.
I know they're trying to win tickets to Troy Burn.
A foursome to Troy Burn. We started doing this at about 2:45, knowing it.
Has anyone won that?
Not well.
What do you have to do to get it?
You have to make a putt, but everybody gets one shot, and a lot of people are getting back in line to try to win this.
So they're
foursome.
cheating.
Basically, you do have to use the foursome if you do win by May 31st. I didn't realize that Troy Burn was voted a top 100 public golf course.
Well, I would say this. Troy Burn is probably, well, I've now joined a swanky country club, so I like that course a lot.
Okay.
It's not that swanky, but it's very nice. But of the public courses, I think Troy Burn is probably my favorite course
really?
in the cities.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
You've never played there?
I've never had the pleasure. And
Troy
I have
Burn's
the kind of
tremendous.
game where if I set foot on a nice course like that, they'd ask me to leave.
Well,
I'm a hack.
Well, anybody can play any course. Troy Burn is playable. If you're hitting it bad, it's really tough, which course isn't. But if you're playing okay, it's more playable than many.
Okay.
So that's.
Is it a long course?
It depends on where you tee off. Not really.
Okay.
I mean, it's I get a kick out of that because every course nowadays has got a multitude of tees. I was just in Palm Desert, and you were just in San Diego.
Yep.
And I was on a course they had, I think, 7 sets of tees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you could play it from 4,800 yards to 7,400 yards. So no course has to be long for you. You can play whatever. I usually like to play around 6,300 as I've gotten older. Used to be 6,600, and probably once I get 60, it'll probably be 6,000. I'll move up.
I talked about this briefly with Joe, but when you go to when you're down in La Jolla for is it the Farmers
La Jolla.
Insurance? La Jolla, sorry. When you're down is it the Farmers Insurance Open that they have there every year?
Yes, at Torrey Pines.
I can see why they get a good showing for a tournament like that because everybody wants to play there because it's absolutely perfect every day of the year.
Now, did you play La Jolla when you were there?
I did not. I was with my family, so it was mostly let's go to the zoo and let's go to Disneyland kind of a vacation.
I've played Torrey Pines 3 times, and I probably wouldn't play it again because it's expensive.
Sure.
It's like $200, $250, and now that I've played it 3 times, I go, okay, I got the feel for it. I don't need to spend $250. But yeah, one of the hardest golf courses I've ever played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, brutally hard.
And if your game is off, you're going to suffer for it.
Yes, and that's one of the few rounds I've ever played where I did not hit a single fairway. I felt like Tiger Woods. When he played there last week, or 2 weeks ago. 72 holes, you drive it 14 times because there's 4 par 3s. So that's a 56 holes where you're driving the ball. No, they don't always hit driver, but over a 4-day tournament, there's 56 holes. That's either a par 4 or a par 5. And Tiger Woods, I believe, hit 17 fairways out of 54.
Wow. So
it might have been 16. So less than a third of the fairways, and he still finished like 10th or 12th, which was pretty amazing, or top 20. This week, I do see Tiger's playing again. And he's playing in Riviera, a course that he's done well at. Right now, he's projected to make the cut. Let's see where he's at. I just saw him on here. He's done with he's in his first round still, so he's just started his second round, excuse me. He's through 2 holes. He's 1 over. He's even for the day. Right now, the cut is projected at 2 over, so Tiger's going to probably have to shoot even par or better to make the cut today. And frankly, there's a lot of talk about, Tiger Woods coming back. Will he win? Will he do this? He doesn't have a swing coach. I'll say this. Watched him play. Brutal off the tee.
Really?
Brutal. 16 out of 54 fairways. Brutal. But his short game, remember the troubles a couple years ago when he melted down around the greens?
Yep.
His short game was Tiger-like. Was putting great, was chipping great, but he has not figured out a swing yet. So what I would say, given the fact that he seems to have a good feel for the short game again, if he could just get to where he's hitting, 60% of the fairways, he'll be a factor.
But you were mentioning him making the cut. I mean, it's not a question anymore. Is he going to add to his majors? His overall, because I don't think that's ever we're never going to get back there. But it's now the conversation is he going to become relevant?
Well, I would
because
say
right now he's not.
If he can get on tour, you have to understand that was the first tournament I believe that he had played in where that he made the cut in 29 months. Okay, so it was mid 2015 when he last made a cut, and since then he played like 2 or 3 tournaments and either missed the cut or quit because he had physical problems. So when you essentially haven't competed on tour in 2.5 years, to make the cut and finish, I think, top 20, mid-20s, driving the ball horribly, that tells me that if he can figure out a swing, he was hitting it super long, he was just crooked. And he's always been a crooked driver of the golf ball. But if you're making cuts on the PGA Tour on a regular basis, you can win any tournament.
Sure.
Do you know who's leading the PGA Tour in FedEx Cup points? A guy named Paul Kisry. I think it's Kisry. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's won 2 tournaments.
But how deep are we into? We're not. It just started.
No. They have a wraparound season. They started in October.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, because
after the Tour Championship, the tournaments after that start for the next season.
The question I was going to ask you is, you were talking about the level of difficulty and the fact that Tiger only hit 17 out of 54 fairways.
Or 16.
Are we seeing a regression to the way that golf courses are now developed? Because I know that we had to go through this Tiger proofing era of we had to make the courses so difficult. That are we seeing that kind of regress now back to the mean?
No, not at all. Because what's happened with the equipment, now so many guys are hitting at 300. Guys like Rory and DJ and Jason Day and Justin Thomas. They literally, you always talk how far they can hit it. What you really want to determine is how far can a guy hit it on a flat, which flat, and there's no wind,
Sure.
and how far will he carry it? Because some courses get wet and no wind. So I would say in those conditions, flat, no wind, how far could DJ carry the ball? DJ can probably carry his driver 320 yards. 320 yards. He can easily carry it over 300. So now everybody's hitting it so far that now golf is, in fact, I saw a story this week where the R&A and a lot of the golf bodies are trying to determine something to take the distance out of the game because it makes it more difficult to build golf courses. Back in the old days, in the mid-'60s, pros were playing 6,500-yard courses. When I started covering golf, they were playing 7,000-yard courses. Now they're playing 76, 77, 7,800-yard courses. And if you're going to probably see within the next couple of years courses that are over 8,000 yards, and that just takes up more and more and more space.
Because what makes for more compelling TV when you're watching golf as a golf fan? Does the average golf fan mostly like to watch these guys get humbled a bit on the course? Or for me personally, I'll go back to when Tiger Woods dominated the U.S. Open. That was the most fun I've ever had watching golf, was when he was just blowing the field away and he was dominating and had 20 under or whatever he ended up finishing for his round. And I thought, personally, I like watching that kind of golf when guys are that. Again, this is a rare example of one of the greatest of all time, but I don't like seeing a guy shooting 17 over par.
No,
that doesn't do anything for me.
No. To me, what I look for, and I've been a long, outspoken proponent of this. You want a golf course that is going to reward the best players, the players that hit the ball the best, that hit it relatively straight, that can putt, that can do all elements of the game. And to me, when you make fairways really narrow, with brutal rough, you are putting too much emphasis on hitting the ball straight off the tee. That shouldn't be that important, and it becomes ultimately important. So now all of a sudden, the guys maybe who are short hitters who can hit it straight are going to do better than they would. So to me, I like courses that reward distance, because I think distance is a skill that guys should be rewarded. I don't like to see. That's what they did with Tiger Proof. They tried to narrow the fairways out at 300 yards to discourage Tiger from hitting it so far. That's stupid. If I'm playing a guy and he can hit it 50 yards further than me in straight, he should have an advantage.
Sure.
He's a huge element of the game he's better at than I am. I can make up for it somewhere else. Jordan Spieth is much shorter than a lot of guys on tour. He's probably middle of the pack, and yet he still wins a lot because he's so great at so many other things.
So we should mention, too, we're still trying to give away that foursome to Troy Byrne. The next person that comes up here and sinks the putt will win that. You do have to use it by May 31st.
How many people have made it?
We've have made a putt here today.
Yes.
We've had a couple that have made it, and they've won various prizes.
But they don't win the Troy Burn.
Mackey and Judd, Chris Long was filling in. They gave one of the Troy Burn foursomes away earlier today. We will have another one here before 6 o'clock as soon as we give one away here that was technically supposed to be given away during GL.
But nobody made it during GL?
Nobody's made it yet, so we're still waiting for that winner. We are at the Minneapolis Convention Center. It is the 2018 Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show. It will be open till 7 o'clock tonight. Korzo mentioned Sunday he'll be out here open 10 to 4, and then tomorrow 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's a great event that we are proud to be a part of annually. And as you mentioned all the time, this is the greatest spot to come to buy golf apparel every single year.
Last year, no, I think I bought some clubs. I bought like a couple wedges or something. Last year, I believe my tab was like $750.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to go. I'm going to try to keep her down around $200 to $300 this year. But when this is over,
yep.
I head over and get all the shirts.
I've watched you in action. I know you're not lying. Yes, absolutely.
Because, golf hats ain't going to last a year.
No.
All my golf hats from last year are pretty much worn out. When we take a break, we're going to come back. And, I had something on the tip of my tongue, but I'll think about it when we come back. So your Minnesota Twins are they pitchers and catchers, right? When do the rest of the guys report? Is this earlier than normal?
It is.
What's going on?
The season is starting earlier. I think the Twins open the 29th of March in Baltimore, 28th or 29th of March in Baltimore.
Do the Twins open every season in Baltimore? It just seems that way.
It does seem like that. I know it was last year, and then
2 years ago they got swept there. And that led to the bad season.
Yes, it did. They didn't get things off to a flying start. But yeah, it is earlier than normal this year.
So I did hear on ESPN Radio. I think the other day, Keith Olbermann is back at ESPN as a contributor.
Yep.
And he had some really interesting comments about how he feels there's certainly evidence of collusion, one of which was that is it Fred Manfred, the commissioner?
Rob
Manfred. Rob Manfred made a statement. He said, hey, I know there's been a lot of really good offers made out there. And so Keith Olbermann said, why would the commissioner know about offers being made out there if these people weren't sharing that information with each other? Mm-hmm. He goes, I think that is potential evidence of collusion. I would agree with him. But there's over 100 free agents, including, I mean, how many free agents have actually signed? I mean, we know the big names. There's a lot of minor names. But my guess would be just from that 10%, 15%, and we're already into spring training. How can you not think there's collusion?
I'm not going to go as far to say that I think there's collusion. I'm also not stupid. But here's what I think is going on, Korzo. I think you've got a perfect storm scenario, what's playing out right now in Major League Baseball. There will still be a number of players that are going to sign before opening day.
Well, they'll all sign, probably. If you're good enough, they'll get signed.
I just think a lot of the front offices in baseball now, they're just becoming smarter. And I think a lot of the front offices in baseball right now, they're all operating basically with the same mentality. You're getting all these Ivy League guys that are all saying, we can't invest 7 years into a starting pitcher that's 30 years old. It just doesn't work long term.
Yet the Cubs just did it.
But I guess my point is, did we just give away?
Winner? We did have a winner.
We just gave away our foursome to Troy Byrne after about a half an hour, maybe even a little bit longer than a half an hour. So thanks again to Troy Byrne for donating that.
And now the whole group is leaving.
Yeah, right. Everybody's dissipating now from the line. So
what do they win now if they make a putt?
We do have regular 1500 ESPN golf balls, tees. I think we still have a couple of Titleist hats that we're giving away here. So,
and by the way, we are at the Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show at the Convention Center. Stop on by. We're right on what I would say we're the northwest side of the convention center. When you come in, as you come in, we're in the
Ballroom B.
Yeah, and right on the front-hand corner as you come in, so stop on by, roll a putt, say hi.
And what's happening, too, is you've got teams, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox. Those are normally the big hitters that tend to set the off-season market every single year. And when those teams are deciding we're not going to spend this year, well, then that just basically stalls everything. Because the reason that Darvish waited so long, from the reports that I read anyway, was he was waiting to go back because he wanted to go back to Los Angeles. Well, Los Angeles wanted to stay underneath the $197 million tax threshold, and they weren't. And finally, he just gave up because he wasn't willing to wait any longer. Signed with the Cubs. So now you'll start to see some of the other guys sign, and I know a few of the others have already signed one-year deals, the Jaime Garcias of the world. But you've got people like you said. You've got people like Jake Arrieta and JD Martinez, two guys, Eric Hosmer, that are still out on the street. And again, I think what's happening now is we're seeing a bit of a shift in the way money's being spent. A guy like JD Martinez is holding out hope that he's going to get a $200 million contract. Well, teams aren't stupid. teams aren't going to say, well, we're not going to pay a statue to stand in the outfield who can hit a little bit. That just doesn't make sense.
But they've done it forever.
They have, but that's the problem. Is I think look at the Red Sox, for example. They're the team that's been mostly connected to J.D. Martinez. How are they trying to get rid of the two contracts that they signed in, Pablo Sandoval and Hanley Ramirez right now, that are still on their books? They're going to throw more money at that problem? That just doesn't work anymore.
Well, how about the Tigers, who have Cabrera through 2023?
Yes.
Yep. I believe it is. Is that right?
Yeah. It's again, I think, and the other part of it too, look at next year's offseason. You're going to have guys like Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, and some big-time heavy hitters that I personally think a lot of these teams now are deciding not to spend this offseason because they want to spend that money next offseason.
Now, the Twins, have added some, looks like some judicious bullpen guys. They're and I've really liked Trevor Hildenberger a lot. I think he's really good, so I think they've really kind of shored up their bullpen. I think that's fair to say. I don't think they have the best bullpen.
The Addison Reed signing was huge for them because they got it for a good short-term contract, and he's a good relief pitcher.
But now they've got nothing. They've done nothing with the starters.
I agree.
So that is really.
I agree.
They added the one guy, Pineda, who's going to be, might be able to pitch next year, but. They kind of had all their eggs in the Yu Darvish basket, and I guess, I don't know, when the Cubs decide they want somebody, you're not going to beat them out.
No, you're not.
That's what it sounded like to me.
And I think
my guess is the Twins really were in there fighting for it.
I do believe that they did have legitimate interest in trying to sign him, but the problem is when you're going up against a team like the Cubs or the Dodgers or the Yankees, you're going to have to spend more to get a guy like Yu Darvish to come here, and you can't outspend the Chicago Cubs or the New York Yankees. They're on a different playing field when it comes to revenue. That's just the nature of the game. It's one of the flaws of the game, but that's the nature of the game.
And what's the deal with Irvin Santana? So I mean, this happens all the time. This happened years ago to Sidney Rice, if you recall. Sidney Rice had some issues. Oh, we're going to wait. And then like a month before the season, I guess I'll have surgery. Okay, So Irvin Santana, this problem was something that he was having last year.
Yep.
And so I guess they gamble. It would seem to me that this shouldn't have happened. That he could have had the surgery right away. I get that you want to take steps to not have surgery. That's kind of a last resort. But wouldn't you pull that trigger maybe a little sooner than they did?
The Thad Levine was on with both Mackey and Judd and on with Royce shortly after that happened. And the explanation that he gave, which I buy, was that, he was having some discomfort, but he didn't realize it again until he started throwing off a mound, which just happened, a few weeks ago, which is why he only discovered it just then. So I don't believe that he spent the whole offseason injured.
So wait a minute. So it's a finger problem, right?
Yes.
So
I believe it's either his middle finger or his ring finger.
So he had never played. So do pitchers not play any catch?
I know some guys that shut it down completely.
They won't go out in the yard and just do long toss, or if you have kids, play catch with your kid.
Well,
or something. I don't know if Irvin has any kids.
With that kind of injury to your ring finger, it's only when you're throwing like a slider that you're going to notice that problem. When you're throwing a fastball, you're just.
So you wouldn't notice it if you were just playing catch in the backyard with somebody.
You wouldn't notice it.
Or just to keep your arm loose, you maybe go out and do some long toss.
You wouldn't notice something like that until you're trying to throw a specific pitch like a slider.
So here's my question.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you say, you know what, I'm not sure if this is healing, and so one day in like January or late December, you go, one day I'm going to go get warmed up, and I'm going to throw a couple hard pitches to see what it feels like.
But when you're a veteran, you could. But when you're a veteron that's been around, you know how to get yourself ready for the regular season.
But I'm saying to make sure that it doesn't hurt anymore.
He probably thought he was okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
Right. Well, it's a rough start for the Twins to not have him for the first month.
And I think now that he's injured, ups the ante even more that they need to go out and get an Arrieta or probably.
Well, they want the guy from Tampa. Is what it sounds like, right?
Alex Cobb.
No, the other guy.
What do you mean the other guy?
There was a guy.
Odorizzi.
No.
Chris Archer. Okay, well, good luck selling your farm system for one pitcher. That's what it's going to take.
We'll take a break and be back at the Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show right after.
Bruce Vail is here with us, and he comes to us courtesy from Owatonna's own Federated Insurance. The man of the hour is Bruce Vail with Your Money Now.
We had a roller coaster ride in the stock market today. It ended with mixed results. The Dow Jones Industrial Average eked out a 19-point gain to close at 25,219, but the NASDAQ Composite fell 16 points, and the S&P 500 gained just a point. But even with today's results, all three indexes had a very strong week with gains of more than 4%. Fiat Chrysler is recalling more than 228,000 pickup trucks to repair a gearbox defect that may allow some vehicles to shift out of park. unintentionally. It's the same type of glitch that prompted the automaker to recall 1.8 million other vehicles back in December. The latest recall affects pickups from the 2017 and 2018 model years. If you are tired of chasing down Pikachu and Squirtle while playing Pokemon Go, you can now chase down some Oreo cookies. Nabisco's Oreo brand has launched an augmented reality game called the Great Oreo Cookie Quest. It puts you on a scavenger hunt to try to find hidden Oreos, and Oreo is partnering with Google on this. Some of the captured cookies will come with prizes, many Google-related.
I'm always on the hunt for cookies, Bruce.
Well, there you go. Get your smartphone out. I'm Bruce Mayo with Your Money Now on 1500 ESPN.
All right, man. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show opening night. It runs all the way through Saturday and Sunday. And like I said, if you're looking for deals on stuff, I mean, good stuff, this is kind of like the Marshalls of golf, because it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's at about a third of the cost. So I'm a huge
Last year
of that.
is when I bought all my Ryder Cup gear.
Yeah.
Right over there.
Yeah.
It was great stuff. I still wear all that. I still wear it all the time.
I just when you guys were doing the first half hour of the show, walked over and bought a shirt. I still want to pick up some more, but $10, nice winter shirt, zip up.
Yeah. Believe me, I'll be doing more than one shirt.
Yeah, I will too. I got it.
It'll be.
Korzo's going to need a truck to back up to take all
Well,
this stuff
last year
home.
when I went over to the closing place and I started stacking stuff, they go, "We remember you from last year." So I'm sure they'll remember.
They
me.
start, wringing their hands together, licking their chops when they see you walking up.
Now from the 1500 ESPN Twin Cities newsroom, which is 2 desks, 2 chairs down from where I'm sitting, Johnny Heidt with a sports update.
Thanks, Korzo. It's sunny and 17. The Wild lost to Washington last night. The final was 5-2. Their homestand continues tomorrow, right in the middle of the 5-gamer. They host Anaheim in a matinee game at the Xcel Energy Center.
If they make the playoffs and the Wolves make the playoffs, and by the way, we'll talk about it during the Ride with Royce, the Wolves are closer to missing the playoffs than you think.
Really?
Yes. They're very, the loss column, the rule, because they played so many more games, they're one ahead of the 9th place team in the loss column.
No.
But they've got like 4 extra wins. Yes, it's very close. But if the Wolves and Wild make it, this will be the first time, maybe the only other time, since 2003 that the 4 professional sports teams all made the playoffs. In fact, it would be because the Wild didn't come around until,
2000.
Yeah, 2000. We only the second time in history that all 4 Minnesota professional sports teams would have made the playoffs in the same year.
It is the All-Star break in the NBA, and the Wolves only have 21 games left.
Yes, it's been shoved back a little bit for some reason. And and then the Wolves have played like 4 or 5 more than everybody else, which is that's good news because now their schedule will be a little lighter.
Yep, All-Star game this week. Wolves now have a week off. The weekend.
Yes.
This weekend is the All-Star game. The Wolves have a week off till next Friday.
Except for Karl Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
The flip tribute last night was very well done. You know who's very cool? Kevin Harlan.
Oh,
he's cool.
And an unbelievable announcer, no matter what he does. It is fun if and our station gets it sometimes, when you're on Monday Night Football, and Kevin Harlan always does Monday Night Football. I could care less about the game. I do not change the channel. Just to hear him.
Because it was all over Deadspin when he did the play-by-play of the streaking guy. Was that last year?
Yep.
That was absolutely incredible.
Well, and one of his best when they had googly, he goes googly, oogly, 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 oogly. He was tremendous. Yeah.
One baseball note: Tim Lincecum threw for about 15 to 20 scouts yesterday. The last time he played in the majors, 2016, his fastball was clocking in at about 87 miles an hour. During a showcase yesterday for those scouts, he was throwing between 90 and 92, topping out at 93. According to some reports, his curveball also had some bite. So who knows? Twins did have a rep there. Some team may end up signing Lincecum.
Somebody will. Craig bleeping Breslow just signed with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Now, wait a minute. You're going to still... No, I guess I'm mixing Craig Breslow. Craig Breslow.
Who the hell's Craig Breslow?
No, who did you just say? Who did you just say?
Craig Breslow.
Craig Breslow.
No, who are you talking about?
I was thinking that how much you hated Matt Belisle, who's also unsigned.
Yeah,
but ended up being pretty good last year, right? You got to admit it.
Yeah,
Come on.
He was okay.
He did the job at the end.
I get the best part when Matt Belisle would come in to close the game late in the year, when there's a lot of pressure on the Twins making it, and listening to Roy Smalley when he'd throw that curveball and it didn't look like it was going to break. And Roy Smalley, before the pitch got to home plate, would go, ooh.
I'll just never forget the beach ball he served up to Justin Upton when he was still with the Tigers last year that cost the Twins a win.
Yeah, well, he served up a couple, but overall he
didn't sign with anybody, did he?
Not yet.
Still free agent.
Well, nobody signed, hardly.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Craig Breslow did.
Yeah,
Craig Breslow. He was with the Twins last year?
Yeah.
And one other time before that, right?
Yeah.
He was with them twice. Yeah.
Yep.
Little skinny guy.
The lefty.
Yeah.
Remember they signed him last year because he had revamped his pitching style, allegedly.
Right.
And
it's really good.
News notes from today. The wife of an Ogallala Sioux police officer has been charged with killing the officer last weekend. Tiffany Jan is charged with second-degree murder in the shooting death of 52-year-old officer Brian Garrett of Kyle. The Rapid City Journal reports Janice made her first appearance in federal court this week. FBI says Garrett was killed early Saturday on the Pine Ridge Reservation during an apparent domestic dispute. He was off duty at the time. The FBI, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and Ogallala Sioux Tribal Police are investigating. We've already heard some stories of heroes in this week's tragic shooting in Florida. It turns out this heroism story thankfully wasn't needed, but it shows some quick thinking by one young student at the school. His name is Colton Hobb. He heard gunshots and his junior ROTC training kicked in. He said when he heard the gunshots, the 17-year-old knew a gunman was on the campus, so he took 60 to 70 people to shelter in an open junior reserve officers training corps room. At that point, he realized that there were Kevlar sheets that they use for their training in the room. He grabbed them all and told everybody to hold them in front of them. Luckily, he said he knew they wouldn't stop the bullets, but at least it wouldn't be catastrophic if there were any shots fired there. Luckily, the gunman never made it into that room. He said he and a friend had a plan. He said, we were both scared, but I was more worried about getting home safe. God forbid if he did come into the classroom. I didn't want that to happen, but if it did, I would try to stop him with another friend of mine that was with us. Again, heroism was not needed. You guys probably have heard about Aaron Feiss. He was the assistant football coach, also a security person at the school. He shielded some kids and unfortunately lost his life when the shooter
It is
shot
impressive
him.
that this kid, and you've seen a lot of these stories, and you even have seen some of the texts that these kids did or tweets they've done or pictures they took. How remarkably calm so many of them were under had to be, a circumstance you don't expect, where they were sending out. One person said, "I'm not going to tweet anymore. I'm busy trying to keep my." They were very. It was impressive that they, in those horrible circumstances, because it doesn't do any good to lose your mind.
Yeah.
And that was really kind of an uplifting thing. I also saw a story today that said a lot of kids now are tweeting and taking pictures of these shootings, and the writer said, and we all should watch them.
Yeah.
People should see how horrible it's like. It is like when Ray Rice punched his girlfriend. We've heard all these stories about these athletes punching women. When you see it, it's different.
Yeah.
And I think if we could actually see the horror that these kids are going through and feel like we were there, maybe some of the people that are so in favor of gun laws might change their mind. It would be a good thing.
The saddest video that I watched was the one of the young student who I think was around 6 or 7 years old, which is around the age of my kid, and showing them hopping up on a toilet seat and how to hide in a bathroom when you think a shooter's on campus. And that's the world these kids live in. And I just thought how can we wrap our minds around that? Because it's just such a sad existence that these kids are growing up in.
William Shatner appears to never want to slow down. Bill is 86 years old now. He just signed a contract with Heartland Records in Nashville and is currently working on a special recording project, according to a press release that'll be released later this year.
Well, didn't he, when he was like doing Star Trek, and when he was kind of the young, kind of good-looking, leading man type guy, I think he did some records that generally got panned. He was like speaking and singing kind of.
He did. The one I remember is there was a video of him doing Rocket Man, the Elton John song, but he's doing this. Dude.
Yes, exactly.
Rocket Man.
Yes, exactly.
Burning out his fuse up here.
You got
alone.
it.
I bet he made $1 million selling these records, too.
Who knows? But they're not saying what this project's going to be. Korzo, he has released, as you said, 8 previous albums in his career. Most recently, 2013's Ponder the Mystery, which we can only
Don't
imagine.
You think that this is just a guy who's he knows, he's just enjoying that people have the attention. He doesn't take himself too seriously.
Exactly.
And what was it, Boston Legal? Or was that what it was?
Boston Legal.
Yeah, where him and James Spader would sit down and have the scotch.
At the end of the show, that was brilliant.
He also narrated the Montreal Expos
really?
thing that MLB Network did because he's a Montreal native.
Okay,
I believe.
Didn't know that.
He did the whole, and it was great.
Oh, they did a documentary on the Expos?
On how the '94 season basically led to their
demise when they had the best team in baseball.
Yeah, and so it was great because you could actually hear the dejection in his voice when he was describing Rick Monday. For the Dodgers when he hit the home run to knock him out of the playoffs. It was great. He did a really good job.
He also, and I haven't seen it, but there's a show on NBC with him, George Foreman, Terry Bradshaw, and Henry Winkler, where they travel around and basically just goof around.
I forget the name of it, but I see the advertisement all the time.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the show, but
so it's basically like those movies. Here's my rule. Maybe it's because now I'm getting older. When there's a movie, and now I see when there's with women too. It's like 4 old guys go to Vegas. 4 old guys do this. I'm not interested in seeing 4 old guys. That's what I live. So I need to see something else.
I understand.
When I'm playing golf with my buddies, 4 old guys traveling around. That's exactly. I will come back with a little more news right after this.
Well, as you know from listening to this segment, I am amused by monkeys.
You really are. It's kind of disturbing.
You know, the last time I said that on the air, a guy texted or emailed me and said I should use that as my next band name.
Amused by
monkeys.
That's a good name.
Anyway, a visitor to a Chinese mountain filmed a wild monkey going through the contents of a wallet that it had just stolen from a tourist. The video filmed this Tuesday showed the monkey sitting on a fence at Mount Imai in Leshan, Sichuan province, taking cash and other items out of the wallet. The filmer said the monkey took the wallet from another tourist who can be heard shouting at the monkey as the monkey discards all the contents of the billfold. The monkey eventually jumps down from the fence and runs away with the wallet in his hand. Damn hands, is that what you call them? Monkeys?
Paws.
Okay.
Paws? I don't think monkeys. They have hands.
I'll look it up.
Well, I've seen them. You ever go to the zoo? They're always like cleaning each other.
I was at the zoo 2 days ago.
Did you see the monkeys cleaning each other?
What's funny is
with their hands.
Absolutely. The one monkey was laying down on the branch, and the other monkey was picking at him.
Oh, okay. I see. Got me worried.
The other monkey was making a motion, which I thought was something else.
This may be the saddest story I've ever seen on a number of levels.
All's I got is that beer?
It's worse than that.
Oh, no.
In Russia, police have found the mummified remains of a fella who'd already retired who died while embracing a homemade sex doll.
So he's...
Run that by me again.
He died. He was dead embracing a homemade sex doll?
That's correct, and he was a retiree.
You know what his family said? He died doing what he loved.
The 66-year-old was discovered in St. Petersburg, Russia, after neighbors complained of a nasty smell in the apartment block. The grandfather, who's named only as Valerie M., had not been seen for several months. When people broke in, they found the dead retiree lying on his sofa next to his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
They said his clothed body was partially mummified. He had been dead for several months. Police think he had assembled the doll from items collected from trash cans near his home in the Moskovsky district. The head was torn from a mannequin used in a clothes shop. The body was assembled from pieces of fabric, rope, and old towels.
Wait a minute.
I'm not even going to ask the question about how they know this was a sex doll. Maybe she was just like maybe it was a platonic relationship and it was like his Wilson.
So wait a minute. This just took a whole nother turn here.
Which part, Chris?
So not only was this a device, it was a homemade sex doll.
Oh yeah, that was in the open.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you say that part of the video.
Yeah.
That's
you see what I mean about the saddest story ever?
That's pretty sad.
Lonely
John.
old man with a homemade sex doll.
That one needs to go in the file.
I don't know how they know it was a sex doll.
I did see a picture. Sadly enough,
you could tell.
What? It was on. It was the Daily News or one of the London papers, and they put a thing over the man so you couldn't really make out anything. But it was basically a head of a, and then some clothing and towels, and he was lying like this next to him. So.
And he had been there for a while because he was mummified.
He was mummified several months.
Well, he's dead. He was dead.
So, very sad story.
Do you bring that up at the funeral? Do you mention that?
How'd he go?
Yeah.
Well, ever wonder what happens if you overload a garbage bin you ordered and then refuse to pay for it? One One person in Great Britain found out the hard way this week. Eddie Barbie and Dan Harrison were tasked with picking up the bin in Hull. It's one of those dumpsters that you can order. Hull, East Yorkshire is where this happened in Britain. When the pair arrived, they said the dumpster was filled too high for what the man had already paid for. They gave the customer 3 weeks to pay for the extra garbage that was piled high. The man didn't, so they came back and tipped the entire load into the customer's front yard.
Ooh.
Eddie said, I had to do it. I couldn't take it. It was too overfilled and my license would get taken away. He said the man tried to pull the we don't understand card, so I just said, understand this, and tipped the bin. I didn't cause any damage. I just left everything in their front yard. Posting the video on Facebook, Eddie wrote, pay your bills. I don't bleep about. The footage has since been viewed more than 22,000 times. Children who are just a few inches shorter than their peers are more likely to suffer a stroke in adulthood, according to a new study. Were you tall as a kid too, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
So it's how you were tall as a kid, not whether you're tall now.
Correct. Yeah, but if he was tall as a kid.
I was tall as a kid.
So was I.
Yep.
Adult women, I was 5'9" when I got out of 6th grade. And now I'm only 5'10". How does that happen?
You were 5'9" in 6th grade?
I was a good basketball player in 6th grade. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway, adult women who
What did you like to eat back then?
A lot of stuff, Chris.
Okay.
Adult women who were unusually short girls at age 7 years were 11% more likely to have known what's as an ischemic stroke, the most common kind, which occurs when a clot blocks an artery carrying blood to the brain. We know about those because remember the reporter that had the problems talking?
That's right.
That's what she had. Men who were short at age 7 were 10% more likely to have that kind of stroke, 11% more likely to have a different kind of stroke, which happens when a blood vessel in the brain
And this was important to know because...
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose maybe they think they can prevent them.
The admission rates at the San Diego Zoo, you pay a certain fee for an adult, you pay a certain fee for a kid.
Sure.
When they're 2 or younger, they get in for free. And my 3-year-old, who's a very large 3-year-old, my wife says, yeah, he's 2. And the guy looks down at my son, who's about the size of a 5-year-old, and said, oh, he's a pretty tall.
How old is he?
He's a pretty tall 2-year-old, with a smile and a nod, saying that's fine. Just let him.
So he really is less than 3?
No. We just said that so that he could get in for free.
Oh.
Yeah, see, we were working the system a little bit.
Oh, wow. I see what you're doing.
And now I just talked about it on the radio. It was my wife's idea. It wasn't really anything I had.
In the name of science, let's talk about breasts. Okay, nobody wants...
Are we going back to the doll story?
We aren't, no. Breasts come in different shapes and sizes, of course, as we know. But there's one thing they all have in common. They're unique to humans. More than 5,000 mammalian species inhabit the planet Earth, yet Homo sapiens are the only life forms with permanent breasts. In other words, breasts that are noticeable. This begs the question, why are human breasts so big? And was it an evolutionary thing? You've thought about that, haven't you?
Sure, of course. Yeah, how'd they get there?
We have gotten down the barrel on your list, haven't we? These are the stories you never get to, isn't that right?
No, these are my normal 340 stories. Every other mammal develops temporary breasts during ovulation and nursing. Of course. Humans do that too, but with humans, they stick around.
I see.
Most popular theory? First proposed by Charles Darwin, later explored by zoologist Desmond Morris. Morris suggests the breasts evolved as a sex symbol to replace the swelling rear end of other female primates during ovulation.
I'm buying that.
Yeah. So in that way, the animals can tell each other apart, the males and females, because of the rear ends. For instance, monkeys, like we were talking about. That's very noticeable.
Can I be quite honest right now?
Sure.
I know we're like in the closing minute of this segment.
Yeah.
Ever since you read the opening story of this segment, I can't picture what I'm thinking of that sex doll looked like from that poor.
Did that
poor
sex
guy
doll have breasts?
It just all I'm picturing is the ding ding. Homemade sex doll. That's all I'm thinking about.
It was very ding-ding. As I said, there was a picture, and it looked like a bunch of clothing with a mannequin's head attached. That's all it looked like.
That's sad. It's just really sad.
I told you it was one of the saddest stories I've ever read.
My God.
All right, Johnny. Thanks, Johnny.
Johnny
Heidt. We'll be back. Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show here on 1500 ESPN. Well, stop on by. We are live at the Venture Bank Minnesota Golf Show at the Minneapolis Convention Center. 1500 ESPN will be here all week. But for those of you that were looking to shop for clothes tomorrow, forget it, because I'm going tonight. There will be none left when I get through with that great shopping spree I go on every year. I really don't much care how I dress except for when I play golf. Then I have to be dressed a certain way. It's very important to me.
Now, are you strictly shorts every time you go out? Do you do pants?
No,
at
I do
all?
pants.
You do. Okay.
There's a group at my club that they will never wear pants.
Really?
Yeah, it's like they have a thing. They won't wear them. And then the one guy says, well, sometimes I wear shorts until if I'm not with the group of my other guys, then when I get away from, I put on my rain pants.
And aren't there some courses that won't allow you to wear shorts? Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Oh, there is. Okay, I didn't know if that was a thing.
No, not the cutoffs you wear, Reuvers. You can't come out there with cutoffs.
Not my jorts.
Cutoff jeans, the jorts. The jorts, you might do a few problems on that. When we come back, the Ride with Royce, he's Korzonowski filling in for Patrick. We're going to talk Andrew Wiggins and some other stuff as well, including Shaun White and Johnny Weir.